If you haven't lost more money than me, then I can't take your advice in business. You have to go through many lessons, often costly lessons. Here are a few of mine. All right, so the biggest mistakes I've made running a startup. I remember when I had very little marketing budget. When I was running my first business, I had concocted this elaborate marketing scheme to print flyers, and I sunk the last $2,000 or $3,000 that I had into a giant campaign for flyers, and then I had to pay the post office to distribute them, and then I paid someone to pass them out. And we designed them, we evaluated every detail, and then at the end of it, we got something like 6,000 flyers out right near my dry cleaner with hopes that people would see them and then they would come into the store. Well, I didn't check the weather the very next day, and there was a blizzard the very next day, and all of those postcards that we inserted into doors and on car windshields and left all over the place were completely snowed over. I don't think I made a single customer on what ended up being $5,000 worth of spend. And that one really hurt. Yeah, don't do that. Or if you're gonna don't do direct mail, but if you're gonna do direct mail, at least make sure that it doesn't snow the very next day. Let's get to some more expensive lessons. So in real estate, I bought an asset, 10 units, piece of cake, raised the money for it, got the debt, no problemo, closed it 3 months. I was like, wow, this is gonna be easy. Lined up another transaction and was on the verge of closing that one. And I bought the building in the summertime. So when it became winter time, we started getting a lot more calls. The windows don't insulate very well. It's cold, my pipes are freezing, all kinds of issues all at once. I turned a blind eye to them because I just thought that they would go away on their own. And then the issues got worse, and then the city called me, and I was like, yeah, I'll follow up, because at that point I was used to talking my way out of anything. And then I went to the building one day and it had a notice slapped on it that said, "This building is condemned." And it said, "You must raise or repair, evacuate within 30 days. I mean, when those cities put a notice on there, it looks really serious. And I called them, and then the inspector laughed and said, "Listen, let me teach you a lesson. In this game, the city always wins. If you don't pay attention, I'll force you to pay attention." That was the beginning of a domino effect that ended up costing me 36 months of having to carry a mortgage and pay it out of pocket in a building that was supposed to be fully occupied, completely vacant. We were excommunicated from the grandfather for the building code, so we had to put everything up to code. 76 bay windows, 4 fire rated windows, all brand new wiring, all brand new PVC, vanity, sinks, floor, tiling, roofing, basement. The building was vandalized. My negligence at the very beginning, all I had to do was repair one issue that would have cost me $600 and a little bit of attention, ended up costing me easily over $1 million. Over $1 million. The mortgage was $3,000 per month times 36 months plus the repairs. It was $450,000 in repairs on top of the mortgage, on top of the opportunity cost, on top of the sleepless nights, on top of, I bled, sweat, and cried in that building. And I realized that some mistakes are easily fixed, some mistakes are not. Some mistakes you cannot get out of easily. And I had to learn that very painful lesson. And I easily lost over $1 million on that one. And it still pains me to this day, because I ultimately, we got out of it, we repaired the building, we sold the building, and I was able to recoup my capital. But I never wanted to sell it, I always wanted to hold it for life. So expensive mistake. So here's a funny mistake. My first business was a dry cleaner, and my job was to go around and knock on doors and get people to give me their dry cleaning. So one day I got the idea to go into hotels because they have a ton of dry cleaning. So I go into a hotel, I'm talking up a storm, and I get the guy to get me a meeting with the hotel manager to consider giving me all their business. Awesome. We go, we have the meeting, And I can see when we sit down that he's very interested. You know, he said, well, what can you do? I said, well, I can clean clothes, we dry clean, we do laundry. And he said, well, can you clean carpets? And I was like, yeah. Anyway, I do clothes, and then he wouldn't let the carpet thing go. So then he was like, all right, well, after the meeting, he said, well, before you leave, can you check out a few carpets that I have? And and I said, yeah, absolutely. And he took me into a few of the hotel rooms and he showed me a few stained carpets. Now in my head, I'm brand new to this business. I think, well, what's the difference between carpets and clothing? And so he shows me a few stains on the carpets and he's like, how would you treat this? And I just like made something up. I was like, yeah, we would get some citrus, solvency, it would be easy. We just do this, we just do that, absolutely. And we can do it together with your dry cleaning. Because I was really going for the dry cleaning business. A day goes by, he's following up about the carpet. And he just will not leave the fucking carpets alone. And I'm like, oh my God, I really want the hotel business, but he won't leave me alone about the carpets. So my anxiety starts to grow. He asked me to send a proposal about the carpets. I'm calling a bunch of people to see if they can service the carpets. I'm trying to see if I can get the dry cleaning business before the carpeting business. It won't happen. Long story short, weeks go on, and I'm 18 years old at this point. I jam up and I don't know what to say or how to deal with this because I talked up a big game that I could do it, and then I ended up not being able to do it, and I ghost him. I completely go ghost, I go dark, and he never hears from me again. I never hear from him again. That's it. Okay, years later, someone buys my business. I sell him my business. He said, hey, look, you want a commission if you bring me hotel accounts. If you bring me hotel accounts, I'll give you a percentage of the annual contract. And I was like, sweet, that's an extra way to make money on top. I was like, I got a hotel in mind. So I reach out to this hotel, and I happen to know the guy still, but I reached out via a different email. I'm thinking I don't gotta be involved at all. I can make the introduction, it's all good. I make the introduction, they hit it off. They had a great conversation. This guy wants to do all the linens for the hotel, and I guess they needed it at that time. And they scheduled to do a plant visit. So we're all gonna meet at the facility and evaluate the facilities, and final decision, $1 million contract. I'm gonna get 10% of the business in one check, $100,000. That was 21, 22. I was like, fuck yes, I'm pumped. We meet at the facility and I see the guy. It's the guy who bought my business, it's me, and it's this guy from years ago, and I'm like, I got my head kind of low, it's been years. I shake his hand, and he says, hey, what's your name? I said, oh, John Henry. He's like, John Henry? Sounds kind of familiar. I was like, yeah, there's a folklore about it, and we laugh it off and we keep going. The visit goes fantastic. The visit goes fantastic, and then at the end of the visit, he goes, wait a second. Now I think I know why I remember you. He said, do you used to run a dry clean business? And at that point, I didn't want to say no, so I just said, yeah, that was me. He said, you don't remember me? I said, nah. He said, yeah, now it's coming back to me. And he recalled the story vividly. He let me know that when I let him hanging dry, he looked bad in front of his boss chewed him out. He said, why'd you trust this little kid, this and that? And he's been looking for a way to get even. And even though we won that account by merit, he got even with me and didn't give me the business. And that was a moment when I realized that no matter how unlikely it seems that you can get away with something, you don't get away with anything in this life. It will follow you, circle up, and the universe will calibrate all what you've done. And it cost me a cool 100,000. Real story, bro. I was like this the whole time looking down. Oh, say, I was like, wait a second. I was like, fuck. Another mistake, my first business, we got into the idea of launching an app. We got all into the idea of an app. We probably spent 6 months custom building this app. I was over indexed. We were working late all day, every day. And, we got everything ready. We got a whole team on board. And then when we launched the app, we didn't get a single visitor to the website that day, period. That week, period. that month period. And it's a common startup lesson, but at the time for me, I learned that, distribution is, very, very important to the success of a product launch. You have to have people. That's actually when I endeavored to learn marketing. I wasn't a marketer yet. I was a businessman. And going through over-indexing on building something and launching it and then having no one care was when I realized I gotta get good at marketing, and that started my journey. So that was a mistake that cost me 6 months of my time, ton of wage, salary, everything else, but had some good lessons on the other side. So those were some of my costliest startup mistakes, well over millions of dollars that I've lost from making mistakes. But the good news is that on the other side of every mistake are really, really valuable learnings that stay with you. And when you lose money, you best believe that you don't forget those lessons. So today I'm a much better operator, business person, practitioner as a result of the mistakes that I've had. So hopefully you learn a little bit, but I'd love to hear your most expensive startup mistakes. Drop them in the comments below and let's get a dialogue going.